Hello and welcome to Strictly Healthy. This is episode 10. Thank you for joining us today. And today we have a fitness instructor, Emma J., who will be joining us and giving us some tips because, of course, we need the motivation, don't we? We're fed up, we're frustrated, and frankly, we're getting fat. So we could definitely use some tips and help with staying on track and being motivated in this time of lockdown. So we want to welcome Emma in today. Hi,
Hi,
Emma.
thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. So how's your day been actually?
My day's been super busy. I have a 3-year-old, so yeah, every day is busy.
I'm sure, yeah. So, for people that don't know you, and could you just give us a little bit of backstory about who you are? So, how you got started, what you're doing, where do you live, those
Yeah.
types of things.
Okay, so my name is Emma, Emma Hopkins, but my business name is Emma J, Life Shaper. So, I've been in the fitness and health and nutrition industry for the past 15 years. I was always fit. I rode horses as a youngster for Wales, actually for my country, and I ran for the local harriers. But there was never any money in fitness when I was young. So I went into sales leaving school and earned quite a bit of money. Then all of a sudden I had a really big car accident in 2002, which changed my life completely. So I suffered severe depression after that. I suffered blackouts, migraines. I had a huge scar on my head. And it just changed me, completely changed me. So I went back to learn everything that I know now, really.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about this accident, how it happened? Just can you describe a bit about what went on?
Very much a day like today, actually. It's very ironic you're actually asking me that. A drizzly, dreary, quite dark, misty day, and I was working for a sales company at the time. And I was sort of an area manager, so I was delegating teams in different areas. So as I was driving back, I was coming down a very steep hill locally. I'd stopped at the traffic. It was about 5, so the traffic was quite heavy, and the guy behind me clearly wasn't looking, and he went straight into the back of me. So I
Oh,
was in a really small Fiesta at the time, so long ago,
yeah.
and I'm quite tall, and I had come up out of my seat. So whether his car hit underneath mine, but it propelled me up out of my seat into the rim around the windscreen.
Oh,
So
wow.
obviously the seatbelt stopped me going through the windscreen, but instead
Right.
I went up, and I just had a huge hole in my head. So I
Oh,
could literally see my skull. I
oh
can't
dear.
remember from seeing my skull and the blood pumping out everywhere. Can't remember from there to getting in the ambulance, and I must have come around in the ambulance then. So I had 15 stitches in my head.
Hmm.
I was modelling at the time. I was a professional dancer at the time. So as you can imagine, my confidence went from 100% to zero.
Oh,
It broke my heart. I couldn't look in the mirror. I definitely couldn't get back in a car. And my modelling and my dancing was over, really, due to lack of confidence, depression, anxiety, those types of things.
hmm. And were you sort of unable to walk or anything like that, or?
I wasn't unable to walk, no, thank goodness. But what happened was because it triggered migraine with me, so I would black out anywhere. I'd black out in the middle of the street. So if I'd have a severe
Wow.
migraine, I literally would be violently sick and black out with it. So that could happen anywhere. It's happened in the most embarrassing places. And that went on for about 9 months after the
Oh my.
accident. Yeah,
Mm.
so as you can imagine, that added to the anxiety, which meant I was too scared to leave my house in case that happened and I was on my
Sure.
own. And it was so scary.
Mm.
And at that point in time, I was back living with my mum, thank goodness. So my mum, sort of being a nurse, my mum, thank goodness, knew a lot and helped me through that period of time. But the depression got a hold of me, and I've never got rid of it. So I manage it really well. What
Hmm.
I did was I went back to learn something that I'd always been interested in. I'd always been fit. I'd always been healthy. And going from eating rubbish, locking myself in my bedroom, drinking pop, like sodas all day,
Hmm. Hmm.
and just being really unhealthy, which I'd never been previously. But because of the depression, it just got a hold of me in that way. You know, I just, with my mum and stepdad's help, realised I've got to focus on something I've always had a passion for. So I went back to learn to be a personal trainer, a nutrition
How,
consultant.
how long did that take you? Sorry.
That took me, well, it took me 9 months to stop having the blackouts, and to even get in a car again, to start driving myself. So probably, I think it was about 16 to 18 months before I realised I needed to learn to get myself, you know, interested in something again. I knew I wasn't able to work because of the blackout. So unfortunately, I'd always had really good jobs, you know. I'd always been sort of, you know, a high flyer. Whatever job I had, I'd got promotion very, very quickly. So it was a huge, huge impact to my life. I'd always had quite a, you know, good jobs with good money. So I had really nice cars. I had designer clothes. I'd gone from this really nice lifestyle to being stuck in my bedroom eating rubbish all day and just, you know, being what I called a bit of a bum at the time.
You
You know,
poor thing. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
and it was awful.
oh, sorry, you were saying something? Just
I was just going to say it was awful. It was a terrible time.
okay. Well, I wanted to ask you then, how did you sort of transition from, you know, having that terrible accident, depression, all the rest of it? How did you then transition to sort of where you are now? I know you said you were a fitness instructor. Can you tell us a bit more about your journey to that?
Yeah, so because I'd always kept fit, obviously getting back into the gym was one of my biggest aims. And I would go back and I'd pull into the car park and it would be packed. There'd be loads of cars there and I would start shaking, I'd start sweating, I'd turn around and I'd pull off, you know. And bear in mind,
Yeah.
I've always been slim. I've always been quite fit. I mean, obviously I wasn't fit at that point in time, but I wasn't scared. I'd go training with the boys, you know, I'd go lifting heavy weights with the boys and I was never intimidated. I loved that. It was my passion. So, you know, I felt, okay, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get my motivation back to get to a gym? And I know that exercising and eating healthy was going to benefit me here. Didn't realize it would save my life, but it did.
Yes. Oh, good. Good. Well, so how does you said it benefits you, obviously, and I see it in myself too as well, because of course being in lockdown, I was doing really well. I joined the gym myself, and
Yeah.
I was doing really well and getting fit and just getting there, and then lockdown. So I think everybody has that sort of story. So then I gradually sort of lost interest in exercising and getting fit again.
Yeah.
So, how does fitness really help you, and why should we do it, and how can we do it in this lockdown?
The body is meant to move, isn't it? If you look at our ancestors, you look at the cavemen, our body is meant to climb, to crawl, to, you know, we're stuck in one position at the moment. And specifically now during lockdown, we're stuck in this seated position on our laptops, on our iPads, on our computers. The body's not used to that. It's meant to move. It's the most fantastic machine that's ever been created. And it's meant to move. Also, while you're moving your body, all of the other bodily functions are occurring efficiently as they should. You're releasing endorphins. It gives you the feel good factor. I mean, I went from, you know, being stuck in my bedroom, being so depressed, not being able to enter a gym, to competing in tough mudders that were like half marathons, climbing, jumping, being electrocuted, doing gosh knows what.
Yeah.
You know, and it changed my life around. And I can honestly look back, and even having been so successful, bear in mind, I wasn't a person that didn't want to work or anything before my accident. I was a high flyer, you know, and this knocked me off my feet. So, you know, to be honest, I was very lucky that my mum and my stepdad supported me and helped me get to where I wanted to be, and helped me get out of that. My mum refused to let me take antidepressants, which I'm so glad of now. Not that I knock
Great.
them, I think that everybody has to make their own decision, and they're right for some people at the right time, but they weren't right for me. You know, I was early 20s, I was fit, I was ambitious, I was successful. I did not need them, and my mum knew that. So I had a really good support network around me. And yes, I started off being a fitness coach, but I'm so much more than that now. So I went on realizing that I still had depression and realizing that I actually opened my gym. So I had compensation claim from my accident and I opened a gym. So I opened a ladies only gym with my mum, my best friend, my partner, and we created something special, something for women who felt as I felt. My
Right.
aim was, if I was early 20s and slim and previously quite confident and I felt that way, how did other women feel? You know? So we wanted to create a safe haven and help those women.
Well, right. So the gyms now are closed, as far as I know. Here in the UK anyway, all the gyms are closed. So what can you tell us or share with us as to what we can do, while we're sort of in this lockdown?
There's so much we can do. And I think even just getting out of your chair and just moving, I think we have to remember that the body is meant to move. So even stretches, if you're on Zoom meetings, Zoom calls, make sure you don't back to back those meetings, and I know that's difficult sometimes. I do it myself, but having a little rest in between, if you can get out and even just walk around your street, some big deep breaths, some fresh air. You can do some squats and some lunges standing on the spot. You can reach your arms up. You can do press ups, even if they're against a wall. These are not difficult exercises. You can have the very easiest versions of these exercises and you can progressively make them harder. What I tend to do if I have a full day on Zoom is I do exactly that. I'll have a 10 or 15-minute gap in between my calls and I'll do 10 squats, 10 lunges, 10 press ups, and just get the heart rate up, get the joints mobilized, activate the muscles, and do that every hour on the hour. It's just something small, but it's something.
Yes, because we hear a lot of this high intensity type of exercise. Do you think they work? The I forget what it's called, fit, isn't it, or something? FIIT.
HIIT.
How does?
HIIT. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, HIIT. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
I
It
apologize.
absolutely it works. I mean, HIIT is fantastic, and it's my preferred form of exercise. I mean, depending on how you do it, obviously, and you have the correct teaching of it, then it can be maximum fat burning plus muscle building at the same time. I mean, don't forget, we don't have to lift heavy weights to put muscle on the body. We can use our body weight. And I think a lot of women as well are very scared of weighted exercise because they think they'll build big muscle, which is not the case. By having muscle on your body, your metabolism works better at burning fat. So you will actually burn more fat if you have muscle on your body.
Right. So the key really is to try and build muscle.
The key is to do the both. So what HIIT does, and specifically if you're using a weight, so the type of stuff that I do is metabolic. So it's metabolic workout. So we have dumbbells in our hands that are quite heavy. They're not huge, but they're as heavy as you can cope with and heavy enough that you need to rest quite frequently. So when we're doing what we call hybrid exercises, we're combining cardio plus weights. So you have a maximum fat burning, muscle building effect after the workout.
Okay. I'm just going to change tack a little bit here, but we'll come back to your exercise programs and sessions. I'm part of a fibromyalgia group on Facebook, and there's so much that can be done. It seems like fibromyalgia is slowly being understood to be a disability. And I know there's things that we can do. Of course, there's medication to kill the pain, but besides killing pain, what can we do personally? I mean, I take a supplement that really helps me to dampen the pain down tremendously, so I don't really feel it. But what would you recommend in terms of your programs that can help?
As I said earlier, I'm actually not just a fitness instructor anymore. I am a life and mindset coach. I practice a lot of nutrition coaching, personal training, but my area of expertise is stress. So actually, this is a great topic for me. I have a lot of clients that have fibromyalgia, and I have treated a lot of people with fibromyalgia. It tends to be developed from extreme stress that hasn't been dealt with properly in life, and that can be stress that you don't even recognize. It can be from illness. It can be stress isn't always emotional. It may be stress of an injury that's having that negative impact on your body. So obviously you're looking at fibromyalgia as quite a huge umbrella, so everybody suffers differently through it, but what I would highly recommend is cutting sugar from your diet, because don't forget, cutting sugar from your diet.
Okay.
Yeah, so sugar obviously is an added stress to the body, and what I've found specifically with fibromyalgia is that sugar is a big trigger for it,
Oh,
Yeah. So when I say
interesting.
sugar, I mean refined man-made sugar. So things like your cakes, your biscuits, chocolates, those types of things. And even very high sugar fruits, because don't forget the body's not responding positively to that. It's responding negatively to it.
Mm-hmm.
So stress, the way the brain sees stress, it sees it as threat. So what happens is the brain will lock down on the body. And this is what happens with things like fibromyalgia. The brain will tighten everything. You'll become stiff. You will have poor range of movement. You have pain. And that's the brain's way of saying, stop, slow down. I'm not happy for you to do this. Let's check you in a little bit, and let's
Mm-hmm.
just make sure you're safe. What I practice with my clients that have fibromyalgia is reinitiating the signal in between the nervous system and the brain. So things that you can do is like releasing your joints. So just tiny little pulls on your fingers here, because everything becomes tight. I'm sure, people listening will have found that your fingers become tight, your wrists become tight, your ankles. And just by decompressing through these parts of the body, decompressing through like your wrists, etc., will actually fire up the nervous system. Something that you won't like is a cold shower. But a cold shower does very similar. So that fires up the nervous system. When you become stressed, the brain and the nervous system don't function together properly. So the signaling becomes what we call fogged. So we want to reinitiate that so that you're not in so much pain. You do have more freedom and mobility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what do you know anything about inflammation and how that then impacts as well on, fibromyalgia and the fact that we can't do very much and just causing a lot of degradation on the body?
Again, inflammation comes from stress of a specific type, doesn't it? So whether
Mm-hmm.
that is emotional trauma, again, feeding the body incorrectly, if for years and years and years your diet has been poor, then your body hasn't been receiving the nutrients it needs. And again, the body becomes inflamed. The body will react negatively to those toxins, alcohol, all of these types of things, fizzy drinks, the body is going to react negatively to that. So to reduce inflammation, you're looking again at correcting your diet, limiting the sugar intake that you have, and eating a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sort of anti-inflammatory and antioxidant fruits, vegetables, those types of foods. Going more for your fruits and vegetables than things like your cakes, biscuits, and even things like your white carbohydrates, white pasta, white sugar,
Right.
white bread. Try and move away from those and go for the whole meal versions instead.
Yes, we did an episode recently about what's so bad about bread, and we talked about sourdough bread and how it needs to ferment for a few days, etc. That is and using organic flours as well too, and whole grain flours. That was described as a bread that would be really helpful to us as well. So,
What
yes,
we
I do
forget
hear.
Yeah, what we forget, I think, Linda, is that a lot of food that we buy from supermarkets these days has so many additives and preservatives in it
Indeed,
that,
indeed.
we're taking that into our body. And, when you're talking about fibromyalgia, when you keep adding these little stresses to the body, the more you're increasing the inflammation, the more the brain is locking down and tightening the body because it's trying to protect it.
Good. Great. That was some fantastic information. I'm sure you've got a lot more to share with us on that. So I'm pretty sure we'll have to have you back to
That's great.
not only talk about some of the health tips that you're talking about, but also maybe to show us some of the exercises that we can do while we're at home or whatever. You might have videos and so on to share. But
Absolutely.
let's just get on a bit about your business. Can
Mhm.
you tell me a bit about your well, you're a life coach as well too. So can you tell me or share some information more about what your business is about, how it's structured, how it can help, if you have any workshops,
Yeah, of
events,
course.
or online courses or something of that nature that you can
Yes.
offer any of the listeners?
Of course. So I sold my gym 2 years ago, and my
Um,
business, I created Life Shaper, which is my business that incorporates everything that I do. Before
mhm.
lockdown, I was going into businesses, coaching health and well-being and supporting the staff. obviously during lockdown, I've pivoted back to one-to-one and group coaching online. So how I help with my Life Shaper package is it encompasses everything. So it encompasses the mindset, positive habits, healthy habits. So I coach you through. I don't just give exercises and healthy recipes. The mindset absolutely is the most important. So as I said, stress is my area of expertise. This tends to be my client, somebody that's very stressed. So we get back to basics, and I actually then program the workouts to suit that individual person. What I would say is somebody is really struggling with stress, specifically something like fibromyalgia, just start walking. Don't think that you have to punish yourself with extreme exercise. Walk every day. Take your time. Get the body moving. Mobilize your joints, Get that body moving the way it should first, because don't forget exercise and dieting. I hate that word, but dieting, they're both stresses on the body. So it's about getting it right as well. So my program we've got an online group program, which obviously is a group setting then, and I give a lot of information there. I support my clients. We have a weekly webinar, so I'm giving a lot of information. I'm in a private group every day, whereas if you're a one-to-one client, then obviously it's more specific to your needs then.
Because as a person who has fibromyalgia myself, I was struggling with just getting out of bed. The pain was so tremendous. It was difficult to get out of bed, and if you can't get out of bed and you're in pain, you're not motivated. So I hear you about moving slowly, taking your time, and just gently getting into it, like walking, as you mentioned.
And stretching, just reaching up, reaching out, allowing your joints to go through their full range of movement. What I like to do with my clients, so on my Life Shaper program, whether it's individual or group, the very first thing, and I recommend this to anybody listening, is start writing a journal and find out who you are in this present moment. What are your habits? How is your food? How are your sleep habits? How are your hormones balanced? A lot of what I do is hormone balancing, because during stress, we have elevated cortisol levels. Cortisol is your stress hormone. So if cortisol is elevated, then that's dangerous. So our aim is to try and bring that down. So it may mean not exercising initially, but walking, bathing in Epsom salts, meditation, deep breathing, mindfulness, things that are calming your mind and your body and allowing you to recover from the stress before you add to that with workouts.
Yes, I certainly hear you on this, stretching and taking your time. Like I find that to do vigorous exercise is not so helpful to the body. And I also learned that your body can't really, unless you warm up first, you can't always take on the big stressful, intense type of workouts if you have a situation like fibromyalgia and those types of things.
Definitely. And as we were
stretching
talking,
as
we were talking earlier, Linda, HIIT is not ideal for somebody with fibromyalgia. So, we have to remember that exercise is a stress on the body. It's a good stress if it's done correctly. But when you're working around an injury or an illness of any kind, then it has to be taken slowly and done right for you. So, I wouldn't advise HIIT if you're just starting off with fibromyalgia.
Okay. That's good. I hear you. So, yes. So if you can share with us if you have any courses coming up or workshops or anything, or where can people find you?
Yeah, I've just started a 12-week course, but I will be having workshops coming up within the next, by the end of February. So you can follow me on social media. I'm Emma J, the letter J, Life Shaper. I'm on all social media platforms, and my website is www.emmaj, just the letter J, lifeshaper.com. So, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. If there was something that somebody's interested in what I've said, then please drop me a message. And anybody that contacts me from the show, I will give a free one-to-one 15-minute consultation to.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, I hope that includes me as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So was there anything else that you wanted to share with us regarding
I would say just something big. Don't punish yourself for the moment. The situation that we're in is difficult for all of us. Believe me, I've struggled too, you know. I still have depression. I manage it well, but I know myself and I journal and I recognize what my triggers are. And if you have a bad day because lockdown is getting to you, accept it, but don't allow it to be 2, 3, or even a week, you know, and accept the situation that we're in, because I think we're all too quick to punish ourselves. We're all too quick for self-blame and negative self-talk when we're all amazing individuals. And I think that we need to celebrate our positives, our amazing points and our wins, instead of focusing on what we haven't yet achieved, what we have, where we want to be and we haven't quite got there yet. And I think that we just step back from that.
Yes, and I hear you about journaling, but something I found that helps too is I had to outline each day what I was planning to do, just to give myself some routine, because
Yes.
without the routine, then I just sunk into sort of, you know, I don't know what I'm doing next, and then I don't do anything and I don't achieve anything. But just, you know, writing things down and giving yourself some goals, I
Definitely.
find.
And I'm exactly the same. And I think for 90% of my clients, they need structure, you know. And I mean, a little tip for you then. I know it's difficult, specifically if you have something like fibromyalgia, to get out of bed in the morning. But when
Yeah.
you have a little routine, you know. So if you need to get up at, let's say, 7, try to get up at 6:30. Get up, wash your face, clean your teeth, just stretch, reach high, reach wide. Just mobilize your body, open your airways, do some big, deep belly breaths, and prepare
Breathe.
yourself for the day ahead. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Some wonderful tips you've provided today for us, Emma. And just share again your contact details for people to be able to get in touch with you and to learn more about your programs that you have coming up,
Thank you,
please.
Linda. It's Emma J. Life Shaper on all social media platforms. And my website is emmajlifeshaper.com. And you can email me through the website if anybody has any questions.
Great. So I want to thank you, Emma, for joining me today. And we will definitely have you back because you'll have some great tips, I'm sure, to share with us later on, and some practical tips as well
Absolutely.
to help to keep us going. So I want to thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
So that was Emma J. She is a life, well, a fitness instructor and a life coach. And it's Emma J. I think Shaper, I think she said was her title. So we will post this in Facebook as well as provide her contact details and her website, etc., so that you will be able to contact her as well. But please, if you know of anyone that might want to be interviewed on our show, or if you have an idea for the show, please do drop us a message in our Facebook page, or we're on YouTube as well on ICANN Events. You can find us there, but all the contact details will be left with this video. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next Thursday at 4 o'clock, same time, same place. See you then. Bye for now.